by request of Gail. Sorry, nothing. I don't have anything in the Galilee yet, Gail. But
Well, it wasn't me that was requesting. It was just kind of a general.
oh, was it? Okay,
Whatever.
okay. But anyway, this is
I
the
can't take all the
entrance.
blame.
This is, I think this is more or less where we left off. This is the entrance to the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. This is a sort of, so you should be able to see some movement here. Big crowd. And of course, yeah, Church of the Holy Sepulchre is supposedly the tomb of Jesus. It goes back to like the 4th century. There is a status quo within. It is called the status quo, that it's sort of partitioned between all the different denominations. And sometimes they have fights and skirmishes because there are disputes about where one territory ends and the other begins. So it's kind of what they call in Hebrew a balagan, you know. It's like what's actually the Persian name for that's a market stall in Persian, I guess. But you know, that's what it kind of looks like inside. And I think the Coptics are relegated to the roof. The Coptics, so there's a little bit of racism there, I guess. And so yeah. Here, and I think I have a few, I don't know, here, just bear with me. Sometimes the controls are a little tricky with this. Oh, this is the inside. That's kind of what the inside looks like. Oh, and Dave, if any time you have comments, because that's one of the reasons you're here, you know, because you might be able to set me straight on some facts, or
okay, sure.
You might have something to add. Now, this is the Shuk. That's in, you know, Eastern Jerusalem. That's a place, and of course, that's
It looks like Sunet.
Yeah, that's Sunet and Jeremy walking down it. And we got next here. And this is not a moving one. This is a static one here. This is moving. Yeah. Have you been to Israel, Mike?
Joyce and I went in 1998. We had a group of Ingeborg, us, and Phil Rosenblatt and his wife Carrie, and Norm and Ruth Gossman, plus about 7 other people, and it was a wonderful 2-week trip. And you know, this brings back a lot of great memories.
Oh, cool. Okay. Yeah, and I was just telling my brother that you share your music right now. Are you still doing that thing?
Oh, absolutely. Today, since you asked, it'll be 1 o'clock since Joyce has a meeting at 2, and she is my camera person. So if anybody's interested, it'll be 1 o'clock, 1 to 2 o'clock Arizona time on Facebook Live.
Very good.
Yeah, we have a lot of fun with it.
Now this is the ultra-Orthodox section. And, you know, they're interesting play cards here. Yeah, Dave can read the play card, you know.
Yeah.
They're saying, you know, have we gone mad? You know, it's already been 2 weeks that 2 chaste and virtuous daughters of Israel are sitting in the military jail because of their refusal to be inducted into the Israeli army, you know, which is...
Dave, where do you live?
Sorry?
Where does Dave live?
Oh, DC.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So he's with us from DC.
Steve, I guess it was just a couple of years ago that they decided to have you know, religious girls in the army, right?
That's right. Yeah, yeah. And it's been my understanding that it's still something they're struggling with enforcing. And sometimes, I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, I sometimes choose not to enforce it.
Huh.
in select circumstances. Yeah, I don't know how vigorously it's being enforced because it's a real issue. And sometimes the religious people even sort of ostracize those that you do serve. You know, like if an ultra-Orthodox boy decides he is going to serve in the army, they give his family a hard time in the neighborhood, you know, his co-religionists. Okay, warning about immodest clothes. And
Mm.
immodest clothes could be anything short of, you know, short sleeves.
Yeah.
You know, you have to be very careful about that.
That's like when you go to Mei Sherim, you know,
Oh yeah. Oh,
Right.
this is
big
Mea
warning
Sharim. Yeah.
signs, big warning signs all
Yeah.
over.
This is Mea Sharim.
Oh, it is. Okay.
Yeah. And this is a bakery in Mea Sharim. There's Sunette and
Jeremy.
Well, she's
Jeremy.
properly dressed and covered, so that's good.
yeah. And this is the entrance to the Horva synagogue in the Jewish quarter. That's inside. That's a little bit of a Talmud lesson, I guess, taking place inside. Oh, that's the view from the top. Of course,
Oh,
this
nice.
is a synagogue that's been rebuilt several times. Originally destroyed due to lack of payment to the Muslim landlords. They weren't paying, and the landlords destroyed it.
Huh.
Rebuilt 1864. And then it was destroyed by the Arab Legion
Mm.
in 1948 after having been rebuilt.
Who were the Perushim?
Ushim, I guess some sort of sect. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, I don't know. I don't know that much about them. I just, this is all from the, like Wikipedia or something like that.
Okay.
Mhm.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And that's just a common sight you're going to see in Jerusalem if you go there. The border police. There. Oh, there's our second cousin Nick Martin,
Huh.
who was
That's
with us
Nick
last
that was
week.
on, yeah, right. Met him.
And he knows, he was a tour guide, and so he knows a lot of people from his, you know, tour guide days. This is in the Armenian quarter, so he is friends with this guy who's a craftsman in the Armenian quarter, has this store. And yeah, Nick couldn't come today, but you know, we got the VIP tour of this store in the Armenian quarter. They're this, they've been working on some pottery. And I have these very short slides here. This is the brother of the other guy. So this is also in the Armenian quarter. And I think this is a moving slide here. So let me try that.
I remember when you didn't have that color.
I never had that. I hate it. I like the brown.
You don't like the red?
No, it's too brown. Too brown. But the brown is not traditional.
Yeah, I like the music. He was playing
do
sort of
too.
gypsy music in there.
Yeah.
That's
And
Jewish music, not Armenian music.
Yeah. And David, do you remember Nick?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, what from when he visited us? Because I don't really remember him when he visited us as
Yeah, from when he
kid
visited
at all.
us was in the 80s, or I think. That was the last time I saw him.
Yeah, so yeah, he's a little bit older now.
Yeah.
So
Aren't we all?
Yeah, unfortunately couldn't come today because last time I did this, he was there and he could, you know, he has a lot of knowledge from his being a tour guide.
I remember.
Here we go. Oh,
Steve,
yes.
I Googled Parashim and it's coming up with that they were disciples of the Vilna Gaon, Elijah ben Solomon Zalman, who left Lithuania at the beginning of the 19th century to settle in the land of Israel.
Oh.
Lithuania.
Okay. Oh, thank you. Okay. So we know that. So they were sort of, and they were descendants of the Vilna Gaon. So they were obviously antagonists of the Hasidim. they were Meat Nogdim, I think. You know, those guys. Well, the Vilna Gaon was, you know, definitely. And so this is a church in the Armenian Quarter.
Oh, I never knew Armenian had such a strange alphabet.
Yeah.
Beautiful tile work. Gee.
And this is another place. This is Zichron Yaakov. Zichron Yaakov. We went on a weekend. Of course, yeah, you can see the backs of Jeremy, and there's Sunette up there, and Sunette's sister. And it's a nice place to go on the weekend. It's on the Carmel Mountain, and this is, well, I have a little bit of a history of it here. I think here, this should come up. Edmund de Rothschild, and I think he sort of refounded it. I think it was really, there was a settlement there before, but it sort of floundered. He refounded it, and he decided that it would be a very good place to establish a winery. And so, you know, you can still get, well, and we may have had the wines in our temple too. They're Carmel wines, you know, that you could get very popular Israeli wines. You know, I guess it can't really compete with Manischewitz for Kiddush though. But oh, this is another piece of history. Yeah, Dave might remember this too, because this is all from our, you know, course in Zionist history that we both took in high school.
Right.
Really
Vaguely.
Spiring.
That's an acronym. I can't remember what it stood for, though.
Yeah, well, it's Netzach Yisrael Lo Yimachek or something like that.
Okay, makes sense.
And this was a spy ring that was established during World War I, that the Jewish community, by and large, decided that they really didn't want the Ottomans there anymore. And so this was a spy ring that was established to give information to the British to help get rid of the Ottomans. And ultimately, the spy ring was found out, and people were tortured, and they're now considered, you know, heroes and heroines of the Zionist movement. And they have they have like what they call in Hebrew a midrachov. You know, once you walk in, there's a big main street that you can't even drive on. You know, it's just for walking. It's a pedestrian mall with a lot of artsy places and historic buildings. So this is one of the historic buildings here, Von Steen's. And this is the site of a historic building, but is now a clinic, a Maccabi clinic. Aronson residence. Aronson was one of the very important families there, the Aronsons. And they were, oh, and the children were mainstays of this Neely Underground. Next. And this is the home of Sarah Aronson, who was captured and tortured and killed. And she was part of this spy network too. It's an old reservoir from the Ottoman days, from when it was established. And the house of the Mukhtar. Mukhtar was an old Ottoman designation, sort of de facto mayor, I guess, is a Mukhtar. They would establish these people in town. So there was, this town had a Mukhtar also, which actually, I guess it's Arabic, but you could understand it as crowned one, right, Dave? You know, it's probably from like Keter.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
From Keter, yeah, right.
Yeah.
Interesting. It was built by a Jewish guy, though.
Yeah. Yep. Because they had to have, some of the Mukhtars were Jewish. It was a Jewish settlement, but they still
really?
needed a Mukhtar.
Okay, I didn't realize that. Huh.
Yeah. Mustor B'Mara. And in the basement is a place that's historic for another reason. It was a secret hiding place of some of the people who were involved in this Neely network. They hid there. So that's the house of the, oh yeah, so this is it. This is what it looks like now. I guess the site of the Mukhtar's building.
Now, where is this in Jerusalem or where?
No, this is Zichron Yaakov. This is this little, Hamish place on the Carmel Mountain.
Oh, on Carmel Mountain. Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
yeah.
Thanks.
So very, very, and sort of a nice place to go on weekends. I don't remember that we went here as kids. I think our dad took us pretty much every place where you could go, but I don't remember. Do you remember us going here, Dave?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't think I ever really got to Zichron. This is also in Zichron. I'm not sure where. But, more, that might be more of the Beit HaMukhtar, actually where the Beit Mukhtar was previous. Yeah, that looks like maybe it was more. Maybe that was Beit HaMukhtar there. And this is Hershkovitz House, which is the original settlers were Romanian, actually, and that's a Romanian name. And I have a friend who's I'm still in contact with him, whose last name is Hershkovitz. He's Romanian.
He's still a dentist?
Yes. And actually, I'll show you later. I've got a picture of him. We met. Here more historic buildings here. And that's the pedestrian mall where they had a lot of stuff. They had musicians and stalls.
Huh. Is that there every day of the week or weekends or something?
No, I think, it's a good question. Maybe it is, to some degree, because it's a pedestrian mall. I mean, why would they have to close it? Maybe it is.
Yeah, but all the booths were kind of temporary.
Oh,
I don't know.
Yeah, well, this is a cemetery. We just happened to go to the cemetery. And it's sort of an unusual grave. I think this is a little
Wow.
sad because that's a young person.
Yeah.
That's our daughter, it says, our beloved daughter, Lital Segev.
Very sweet. Very unusual.
Mm-hmm.
And so I've got a few of Tel Aviv here. That's, of course, Tel Aviv is on the beach.
Mm-hmm.
Plenty of beaches. And this is a monument I found. I was just happened to be walking around, and this probably only dates, this monument, I would guess, dates from when the Labor government fell and the right-wing government took over, because they've all got their different versions of what actually happened here. This was actually a very unfortunate incident. Just, I guess, about the time that the British were leaving, and Begin's, sort of private army was still operating, and they were trying to bring in arms, and they were fired upon. The ship, the Irgun ship was fired upon by Haganah guys who had been established as the official army of Israel. And that was the sort of labor aligned, I guess. So, it's a very sensitive issue. Still, I guess when Begin was the opposition, he used to always, scream about, from the back row where he was, Jew fired on Jew and shameful. You have anything to add on that, Dave? Anything you recall? Or?
No, I just remember it was in the history books. I can't remember what the take in the history books was, though.
It was probably when we were in high school, labor was in power. So
Right. So it's probably the labor people preserving the rights of the state or something.
Yeah.
Steve,
Yeah.
I remember when I was in Ulpan, they used to teach us history of Israel. It was part of the course. And this came up, and our teacher said, if you hear people talking about, don't take sides because you might start a fight. So we just were told to kind of stay away from the subject.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
No, I made the mistake of bringing it up on a slide in the temple, and I remember Wanda had some comments. So that was something to avoid. Yeah. Wanda's she's one of our congregation members, and hopefully doing well. And she's more aligned with the right wing, I guess. Okay. And so we're gonna go next here. Oh, I think this is a moving slide.
Oh, good. That's a
Oh,
good.
that's a nice one.
Very nice.
This is actually, if you're energetic, you can, Sunet's sister, I stayed with Sunet's sister when I was in Israel. And I mean, if you're energetic, you can walk on this promenade all the way up to Jaffa, Yeah, go ahead, Dave. What?
Is that power station in the background, Reading
Yeah.
Dalit, or something new?
Right. Yeah, that is the famous Reading Dalit, which is a sword point, that these chimneys, this power station is, I don't know, I guess they're probably going to go to something cleaner eventually, but
Yeah.
yeah,
Remember there was a
I'll just show it
controversy.
again here.
When it was designed, they had guaranteed that the smokestack was high enough that it would never generate smog at the surface. And it turned out that it did.
Yeah, so, mistake. Yeah, there it is. Yeah, so that's a smokestack there. Reading Dalit. The power station. So next. And this is Hofatsukim, the cliff beach. And this is close to Sunet's sister. Oh, is this a moving one? No. This is the Yarkon River in Tel Aviv. Next. That was just an interesting sort of carousel, and it had some old advertisements here, what were made to look like old advertisements from like the 50s probably. And this is another, I mean, if you just walk around in Tel Aviv, you can see all sorts of historic sites that are marked. So this was another thing that was probably put in place by the more recent government, not by labor.
Yeah.
Because this is another incident that they felt should be, noted. And there were two right-wing armies. There was Etzel and Lehi, and there was one, and Begin's was actually the less extreme one. The more extreme one was led by, what's his name? I'm just blanking on his name. Shamir, right?
It's Yitzhak Shamir?
Yeah. Well, it was sort of that was a more extreme one. That was broke off from Begin's organization, and they actually, curiously, were in some sort of negotiation with Nazi Germany for a while. Do you remember that story, Dave? That they decided they wanted the British, they hated the British so much that they were gonna cooperate with the Nazis to get the British out of Palestine. And they had some sort of initial contact, actually got some response. And then I guess the Nazis thought it was just so funny, they couldn't continue the contact with these guys. Dropped it. Do you remember that? Do you remember that being said, or
I remember, from high school history,
that there's some sort of with contact with Germany? I think they contacted the German foreign minister or something.
Yeah. The head of Lehi was in the Knesset later on.
Yeah, right. Yeah, and he was also, wasn't he? He was the prime minister for a while, Shamir.
Was he? I didn't remember that.
Oh, yeah. So Lehi was the more extreme one. Etzel was the more moderate one. That was Begin's, right?
Yes.
I didn't remember which was which on those. Oh, that is the site, that sign that they showed before. This is the site of that incident that was mentioned. Just interesting statues in a park.
Oh,
That was,
looks sort of like
This is-
this one then.
yeah, then that was, this is another thing. I guess it's a sculpture. Oh, this is kind of what, I just took a picture of what Tel Aviv kind of looks like. This is Bauhaus, right? This is that sort of German architectural style that was imported from Germany because all these German architects came over
Yeah.
in the
That was-
1930s.
That was called the Tel Aviv style after a while.
Oh, yeah. Well, this is place, I think students of architecture comes to Tel Aviv to study the Bauhaus, or whatever the adapted, version of Bauhaus was. I guess these long sort of curved, what Bauhaus is supposed to be very functional, basically, right? So,
But yeah, the rounded buildings and balconies was the
Uh-huh.
most noticeable thing.
yeah, I guess so. So that's just a street in Tel Aviv, and this is. Everybody's got balconies because that's the only way to cool off.
Mhm.
At least, and these are also very old buildings here. I think this is Nachlat Benjamin. This is where there's sort of shops and, sort of an older section. Oh, here we are looking for something. I think I was looking for souvenirs. So this is, Sunet's sister and Sunet and Jeremy are in that. Oh. Is this a moving one? No. And this is a pretty typical apartment building,
Yeah.
but
They all look alike.
yeah. But this one is significant. Here you see a little sign here,
Yeah.
and so I went up to take a look at the sign, and this is the home of Natan Alterman, a very prominent poet, and his wife wasn't. So they marked it. It was like historic site. This is my alma mater. This is Tel Aviv University
Ah.
at the medical school, Sackler, which is now a very well-known name in the
Yeah.
news. We called it the Pompiat, which is the vegetable grater. There is some similarity there, I think. That's inside. That's just the lobby. I just went in, just nostalgic kind of. And that's a place you really want to see. Oh, yeah, we'll go to previous here. This is a Beit HaTfutzot, the House of the Diaspora, which is on the Tel Aviv campus. That's a very interesting museum. They used to call it the House of the Diaspora. Now it's called the Museum of the Jewish People, because diaspora is a little bit negative. So, and it's all about various Jewish communities in the diaspora. They also have a database there of family trees, Jewish family trees. And I actually installed our family tree on it, but the version they have, I think, is not quite up to date. It was years and years ago that I did it when I first started working on our family tree. That's it's Debbie and Jeremy, and I think this is Beit HaTfutzot, and I think this was sort of like a Bob Dylan display or something.
Is it still known as Beit HaTfutzot, even though they changed the name?
Yeah, it's still known as Beit HaTfutzot. No, I think they call it. I'm not sure. I think the official name is now Ha'am Yehudi or something like that, the Jewish people.
Okay.
Even though I think if you Google Beit HaTfutzot, I think you'll still find it. And this is a museum. Was the Robin Museum, actually, which is a relatively new museum in Tel Aviv. This is the car that was his official car, and that's the car he rode into the hospital the night he got shot. It's yeah, and it just
Yeah.
this explains it. This is the Cadillac Fleetwood Cadillac. 1994 was the vehicle that drove Yitzhak Rabin in his last moments from Kikar Malchei Israel, where he got shot, to Ichalov Hospital in Tel Aviv.
Horrible.
The vehicle had been received at the office of the Prime Minister just a few months before the murder. And it was actually a fortified, like Mishoyan, how do you say that in English?
Armored. Yeah.
Armored, yes, it was an armored vehicle, yeah. But unfortunately, that he wasn't in the vehicle when he got shot.
Right.
In the vehicle was removed from service 2005. Had been used by other ministers after Rabin, and was added to the hospital too. They call it Merkaz Yitzhak Rabin, this hospital. This is actually, this is the actual, oh, I wrote it here. He had the words. He was very nervous because he was going to have to sing a solo with Miri Aloni of Shir HaShalom, of the Song of Peace, at the rally at the night he was killed. So this is the words of the song stained by his blood that was in his pocket at the time. I think the guy who shot him is still serving time.
I was going to ask if he got life. Did he get life? I can't remember.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Life in
Yigal
Israel.
Amir.
Life sentence usually means parole after 15 years in Israel, but maybe he's in for longer.
You know what? I'd have to Google that. I'd have to see if maybe this is something. Yeah, Sunat. It was just a big rally of Israeli scouts, and I think it was commemorating the night that Yitzhak Rabin was killed.
Mm.
It just happened to be passing by it. There's Jeremy figuring out our bus route. Jeremy, eventually I learned how to use the app pretty well. I mean, last time I was in Israel by myself, and the app was really good. I think the thing that worked the best for me was Google Maps. Google Maps actually worked out. Others weren't quite as good, but Google Maps was the best. If you're ever in Israel, use Google Maps to figure out where to get a bus, when it's leaving, you know. But Jeremy was figuring everything out for us, you know, with where to go, how to get to the bus stop, everything.
He's always done that. He was with us in Absentia when we went to the Conversos conference in New Mexico. Remember, Steve?
I don't recall. No, what happened?
Yeah, he was on when you almost ran out of gas in Marshall Wiener's car, and we were relying on Jeremy's instructions. And
he found us a gas station, right?
Yeah,
right.
yes, that was quite an experience.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Thank you for remembering that.
I will never forget.
It's always good to have a techie in the family.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And this is just demonstrating that, you know, that signage in Russian is not unusual. Now, this is in Tel Aviv. This is just a camera shop. Or is this, no, this might be the camera shot is a sign in Russian too. But I guess that this might be the, relating to this little kiosk here, this little restaurant. Well, that's the Tel Aviv Museum. It's a nice art museum. So mostly, no, I shouldn't say mostly. It's got, classic art and modern.
Are those spiders on the poster?
I
Look
think
like-
those were so, yeah, like some sort of weird sculpture. Yeah, here, Sunette and Jeremy, and what did I do here? Yeah, this is a very famous painting that's in the museum. It's Jews on Yom Kippur. It was by, here, I'll just go for the Jews. It was painted by this very young artist who died very young, like Maurice Gottlieb in 1878. And he actually painted himself into the picture multiple times, as well as his one-time fiancée who had rejected him. I guess there are all sorts of stories about the circumstances of his death, but he died in his early 20s. He painted this in his early 20s.
Wow.
He was very young. Here, I'm just going to go back for a minute here. And actually, this Torah, you can't really see it, but it even has a sign on it that's donated in memory of, and he put his own name there.
Oh,
Himself. And this is him as a child, supposedly, according to the experts. This is his fiance who jilted him. Oh, this is himself also, as a slightly older child. So he painted himself into this picture multiple times. Yeah, I remember seeing this picture also in a Jewish encyclopedia I got from my bar mitzvah. So very, very well-known piece of art. And here they explain a little bit more about the different periods of his life that he painted himself in. His fiance was Laura, and she's in the women's balcony up there. Next, that's of course Chagall. So they have like interesting original paintings, very prominent artists. That's a close-up of it. It's called Solitude from 1933. That's Chagall. In Jerusalem, there's a synagogue that belongs to I think the Hebrew University Synagogue has stained glass windows that were designed by Chagall. Oh, now I have some pictures from when I went to the Hatikva quarter in Tel Aviv, in southern Tel Aviv. This is a working class neighborhood, they say. I think some people might call it a slum, or at least it was a slum. I think it might be a little bit more upscale now, and it's becoming a popular place to do shopping. The shuk there it used to be Shuk Carmel in Tel Aviv, and Shuk Carmel has become according to the purists, too touristy. And so now the Hatikva Shuk is where you want to get the deals. So actually I went to the Hatikva quarter with Sunette's sister and her husband. And they're both attorneys. Sunette's sister's husband had some business there, and Sunette's sister just had to do some shopping. So I helped her with schlepping the bags, with her shopping. Next, I've got a couple of pictures of that. That's what it looks like when you sort of enter it. It's a Hatikva quarter. Yeah, Dave probably remembers Hatikva being mentioned negatively when we were in high school in Israel. It was kind of, I guess it was presumed that it was. Now, I guess the mix there, I guess they're Russians who live there. A lot of Russians arrived in Israel without a lot of money. About the time we were in high school, I think it was mostly Moroccan.
Right,
And like
right.
Mizrahi, like Eastern.
Is that where the Yemenite restaurant was that we always went to?
Was that, I don't know if that was, no, I think that was the Yemenite quarter or something. I don't,
Okay.
Kikara Temanim, what they call Kikara Temanim,
Oh, okay,
the Yemenite vineyard, they call it.
yeah. Okay.
No, this was not a very classy place. This wasn't a place you would go to eat at a restaurant, I don't think, when we were in high school. Just got all sorts of bad. I remember just any time the teachers wanted to sort of refer to something negatively, they would make references to this place. And now this is a shuk, so it's you know, more upscale now, I guess. This is the shuk. This is a market, and that's Sunet's sister and her husband from behind. This is, oh, it was Friday when we were doing our shopping. So halot here,
Yep.
you know, challahs, and these are just interesting bread. I just had to take a picture. Yeah, I don't know what this is. I don't know if this is some sort of Mizrahi thing, you know, Middle Eastern, Jewish style bread making. Oh no, you can make out that there's Magen David sort of into this too. Next, okay. And this sign says that they've, oh, you wanted to ask something, Gail, go
Yeah,
ahead.
question. So is any part of the shuk run by Arabs? You know, are they doing the produce, for instance, or is it
Don't
Israel
know.
mostly?
Don't
I
know
mean,
if there,
his
there
family
could be Arab-owned stores. There
Yeah.
could be. You know, Israel is not, as you know, Gail, and probably people know, it's not very integrated. You know,
No.
but yeah, oh yeah, there could still be stores there. Yeah,
But in Carmiel, where I live, you know, when I was in Europa, was very mixed. Half the shops are run by Arabs.
yeah.
Really, half of them at
Well,
least.
if you go to Haifa is more
Yeah, well,
integrated.
Haifa's a real mix. So
Yeah. And you know, it varies where you go. When I was staying with Sunet's sister, you know, there's some things that I noticed, and they supported me on this as a correct observation that it seemed like all the pharmacists were Arab. They were all speaking Arabic, and apparently it's become very popular. You know,
Yep.
for them, they go to Jordan actually, to some college, and they learn to be so a lot of the pharmacists are Arab.
Yeah, our pharmacist in Carmiel was Arab. Yep.
Because I remember,
Is there even a pharmacy school in Israel? I'm not sure.
Is there a pharmacy school? Oh yeah, I'm sure there is. I'm sure there is, but maybe for whatever reason they choose to go to Jordan. I don't know. Maybe they get scholarships or something like that.
Right.
But yeah, it is. You know, it's still not sort of by choice. It's not, of course, it's not any sort of enforced restriction or anything, but it's not integrated society as far as that goes. There's some places they're sort of experimental. I don't know if we'll get to the slides today, but there's one place called Neve Shalom that it's sort of, what's Neve? I'm not sure how to translate that, but it's sort of like haven of peace or something like that. Which was established as a sort of a Arab Jewish community. And, you know, but there aren't many of those experiments out there, you know.
I think one of the reasons that Carmiel seemed to be very integrated, not so far as living arrangements, but commerce. There were two small Arab villages, one to the west and one to the east on the main road just outside of Carmiel. And those people worked and owned places in Carmiel. So it was pretty, you know, the commercial part was integrated. Housing was not. I don't think there were any they were all lived in the Arab villages, but you know, it was an easy commute. It was like a half a mile down the road. So to these places.
Yeah.
I remember Carmiel in the 70s as a small town. It's quite famous at the military base nearby.
Yeah.
Well, you were there, Dave. Wasn't that
Yeah,
the
that's
officers'
where I did.
course, or?
That's where I did course marking. You know, the non-commissioned
that was-
officers course.
No, that was
That's where I went
squadron.
to Ulpan. Yeah.
Oh, okay, because I remember we went to visit you when you were up in
Uh-huh.
Carmiel, and we got a flat tire on the way driving through the Arab village. And I think it was intentional. I think there was a stone out there in the middle of the road, but very conveniently, somebody came out right away and offered to fix the tire. It wasn't expensive. Do you remember Mom telling you about that? Do you remember the
Yeah,
incident?
I remember that. You guys suspected it was a racket,
Yeah,
but they had set out something to
yeah,
fatten the tire and then they
Yeah,
would
yeah.
repair it.
yeah, preferably some Israeli going up to visit people at the army base. Yeah. But anyway, this says that they've taken out the required portion for the tithe, I guess. Is that what you would call it? Or
Oh, really?
it's just reassuring people that the tithing has been done on the produce.
Ah,
I think. So is that nationwide?
Is that, well, that's, I guess if you're religious, you want
Yeah.
to make sure that this has been done.
I thought that was only,
You
But
know,
there's only a thing
it's
with-
a Talmudic injunction, isn't it, Dave?
I don't know, I thought that was only with like challah. I didn't know it was with that, more stuff.
So maybe, well, because the sign is up over this fruit, right?
Yeah,
I'll be darned.
Maybe they are referring just to their challah, maybe. I don't know. It's another question to investigate, I guess, but it's just in, reassuring people that this has been done. Oh, this is Sunet's sister took me to the best hummus place in Israel. Of course, there are about
Ooh.
500 best hummus places in Israel. So this is Pulse, and this is in the Hatikva market.
Ah.
Is this a? This is not a moving one. Okay. Oh, this is. Oh, these places are kind of no frills. Which that's a very Israeli looking scene there. Okay. And
it's interesting to have the place has an English name, just an interesting.
oh, Pulse.
Yeah,
Yeah.
not a Hebrew
yeah.
word.
Yeah, right. Yeah. I guess now it's showing that you've got some class as you use English, like Loazit a little more. Okay.
Uh-huh.
There's me enjoying whatever it was. If I was having full or hummus, I don't know. Okay. Oh, now here, Sunet's sister was trying to buy, she's actually a vegetarian, but she was buying some meat because she was preparing it for some friends. And she's an attorney, like I said, and she was questioning this guy very closely to make sure that she was getting what she wanted. And he reassured her that he was giving her the right thing. And of course, everybody there is wearing kippots, so you think they're telling the truth. It turned out not to be exactly what she wanted, but anyway, I just did a little filming of this. You can see the skepticism. She really wasn't thinking that he had what she wanted. And sure enough, he didn't.
I see some Ethiopians in the crowd too.
Oh, yeah. All over. Now, this is when I went with my cousin Nick to Nachlat Ben Yamin, and this was a day that they were having sort of arts and crafts out in this.
Close there.
Oh, yeah, you should.
Okay. I had 2 glasses of water before we left.
Nachlat Ben Yamin.
Closer.
Okay, I think I'll be doing this for like another 5 minutes and then we'll save something for next time maybe. Or...
Mhm.
Oh, okay. Here, I've just got a little bit. I think we have time to show a little bit of this. Might be interesting. This is Neve Shalom. This is this experimental combined village, cooperative village for Jews and Arabs. And a friend of mine who I'm still in contact with from medical school, this is David knows him, Elon Blott, who was
Oh,
with
yeah.
us at the youth orchestra. Very good violinist too. And he took me to a concert. It was supposed to be like a folk festival in this place. But what it turned out to be, it was all quote unquote Anglo-Saxons. It was now in Israel, we are all Anglo-Saxons. Anglo-Saxon is anybody in Israel who speaks English. You know, Americans, Canadians, South Africans, British, you know, all those. So this was like a concert put on by all these, you know, expat, quote unquote, Anglo-Saxons who were also good musicians. And so I recorded a little bit of it.
And this is halfway between, is it Haifa or
Tel Aviv
Jaffa?
and Jerusalem.
Oh, where is this place? This
Yeah.
place is located near the city of Latrun. And it's sort of general Jerusalem area, I think. Here, let me go back to this slide. Let me
That
see
halfway between.
Yeah, Tel Aviv and Jerusalem. Yeah.
Oh, Jerusalem. I can't see them. Yeah. Okay.
Oh, okay.
How many people live there? How big a town is it?
295.
It's pretty small. It's like a few hundred, I think.
Okay.
It says
And-
295.
And they also, it's sort of touristy. They have a hotel there.
Wow.
And that's kind of where they put on this this concert. So actually, I recorded a little bit here. You can see the guy in the middle is acting. Right? He's got a
Like
gun.
there, Mr. Shea.
Now, doing this song, I found a strange resemblance to another song known by anyone to be a Yiddish-speaking person. And here it goes. Hit the road, Jack. Don't you come back no more, no more, no more. Hit the road, Jack. Don't you come back no more. Hit the road, Jack. Don't you come back no more. Hit the road, Jack. Don't you come back no more. Well, woman, oh woman, I'm feeling this way. You're the only reason why I just stay.
Okay, and you can see this guy has a kippah in Tzitziot, you
Right.
know. So he was first on the program because he had to get back to his settlement before Shabbos,
Ah,
you know. And there are a few others like that, you know. So these are not guys who live in Neve Shalom. These are guys who live, I guess, in one of the West Bank settlements.
hmm,
I recorded a little more
interesting.
of that. Oh. Sorry, okay. Now this guy, there was a little bit of story to him too. He's another expat, like American. And his last name is Dworsky. And I'm a fan of Prairie Home Companion. I used to listen to it all the time. And the regular pianist on that was Rich Dworsky. So I had to go up and ask him afterwards if he was related. Turns out he's his cousin. It's a very musical family. Anyway, I recorded him a little bit too. And he had a little bit of a story too. He had been in the Israeli army, as a lot of them us have been. He really wanted to be in one of the musical groups, but it didn't work out for him for some reason. You know, you have to have some sort of physical impairment usually to get into music, because otherwise they're going to put you in something else. But if you're a guy, you have to be. I think you have to be physically some sort of profile issue. to get into the band, you know, or one of these entertainment groups. But he was pretty good blues guy.
Ever since the day that we met, our love is nothing but the blues. Baby, how blue can you get? You, when I'm with you, just when we're apart. Evil when I'm with you, and you are jealous when we're apart. Our love is nothing but the blues. I know that sounds right here in my heart. You got that part? Yeah.
Okay, I think that's it.
Okay.
I think I'm going to end here. End
Thank
here
you
at
so
Whitney.
much, Steve.
Oh,
Yeah,
my
very
pleasure.
enjoyable.
Thank you.
Yeah, so yeah, you can stop the official recording now.
Okay.
So when you and Nick put together your tour to Israel,
No, we didn't. We just sort of met up in Israel. We didn't really have it.
no. I'm saying this is the one we were talking about last week. I said you and Nick need to lead a tour for us.